Hello, my name is Anderson. I'm the author of a book about the history of Queen and the story of Freddie Mercury. A Night at the Opera and the enduring legacy of the song Bohemian Rhapsody. So how much money did Queen make from the album, A Night at the Opera? What happened to the band after A Night at the Opera? Queen decided to take a break from recording and touring, and the individual members went off to do their own thing for a while. There was a lot of gossip and scandals surrounding the band. One of the most enduring images of Freddie Mercury is that of the flamboyant and outrageous frontman. This story was completely false, and there is no evidence to support it. Well, the album was a huge success and made the band a lot of money, but the exact figures are not known. However, it is estimated that the album made the band at least £25 million in today's money. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. Not bad for a bunch of blokes from a small town in England. But it just goes to show that people will believe anything if it's outrageous enough. But behind the scenes, he was actually a very private person, and he didn't like people knowing his business. Despite this, there were always people who tried to make money by selling stories about Freddie and the band to the press. Well, after the huge success of A Night at the Opera, Queen decided to take a break from recording and touring. The members of the band went off to do their own thing for a while. But they eventually got back together and released another album in 1975 called Sheer Heart Attack. Freddie would often threaten to sue people if they published stories about him without his permission. But this didn't always stop them. The story went that Freddie had met the woman at a party and they had immediately hit it off. They had an affair for several months, but when the woman's husband found out, he threatened to commit suicide. Freddie was devastated and ended the relationship. The story made headlines around the world and caused a huge scandal. But Freddie was never married, so there was no scandal. So where are they now? Well, Freddie Mercury bought a mansion in the Swiss Alps where he lived for the rest of his life. Brian May became an astrophysicist and a professor of astrophysics at the University of London. He also had a brief stint as an MP, a member of Parliament in the UK. John Deacon became a millionaire many times over, and he, also, became quite a recluse and very rarely gave interviews or appeared in public. And Roger Taylor became a successful solo artist, and he also became the mayor of London. But what did the critics and the public think of the album, and how much money did it make? Well, the album was a huge hit with the fans and the critics, hailed it as one of the best albums of the year. It went on to sell over 6 million copies in the UK alone, and over 25 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best-selling albums of all time. Now, this is part of our mini-series about Queen and Freddie Mercury. Now, in another part, we talked about the huge success of the album. After the huge success of A Night at the Opera, now, despite the huge success of Queen and the huge amount of money that they made, one of the most salacious stories that ever emerged about Freddie Mercury was that he had an affair with a married woman. Another story that emerged was that Freddie had had a sex change operation. Thank you for watching.